stampers, and welcome to Laura's Stamp Pad. Today I'm going to show you a little tutorial on a technique that you've probably seen quite often recently as it has become popular, and it is the bokeh technique. This is actually a technique that you see a lot in photography. It is those little dots of light that you see that aren't very focused in the photo. So for example, if you see like a flash of light or something in the background, or maybe some Christmas tree lights, you'll see that kind of blurry circle of light, similar to what you're seeing in these projects that I did. So you can see it's those like circles of like white light and that kind of blurry look. And then this one here. And I'm going to show you both of these. This technique I actually got the tutorial from a fellow stamper of mine, Mary Ellen Stites. You can see, I'll put a link below with her blog there. She did this one and it is super gorgeous and so much fun. So today I'm actually just going to show you this one because I have a couple watercoloring techniques to show you as well. And instead of using Pool Party and Island Indigo like I did for this one, I thought I would use some different colors just to see what I come up with. So I'm using Elegant Eggplant and Perfect Plum. So I'm just going to open these up. There's a few ways that you can do the watercolor. You can always squeeze your ink pad like this, and then you have that little palette of color on the lid. You can also take your re-inker and just put a few little drops there, and then you have a palette. Another way, if you really like to keep your ink pads clean, and not that I'm a super clean ink pad person, but I do really like this, you can take one of your clear blocks and just stamp it on there, and then you have a fabulous little palette. This way your ink pad stays clean and you can just rinse this off or wipe it off with a baby wipe or on your Stampin' Scrub. You can do either of those. So since both of these are going to come out quite dark, I'm going to set them on opposite sides so I know which color is which. And I'm going to show you a little technique that I've learned with some of the watercolor paper. This is just a little scrap of watercolor paper that I have. There is sort of a right side and a wrong side to the paper. You'll see one side has kind of some texture and some little bumpies, like little, like almost like divots kind of like popped in. And then the other side just seems more fibrous and more, I don't really want to call it smooth because it's not really that smooth, but you'll just notice it looks like it has like a finish over it. That is not the correct side. The correct side is this one that looks more rough and has those little pockets in it. So I'm going to show you, if you were to take your aqua painter, and it of course has water in it, and I'm just going to kind of drip some water down here on this and start adding color. And you can see that the color is just kind of sitting there and I'm kind of moving it around and stuff. Well, I've actually learned that, or just played, you know, over time and stuff, by taking your aqua painter and coloring your whole piece of watercolor paper, not super drenched, but just wet it. Just wet the whole thing and then go pick up your color and start playing. And you'll see, let's get close, you'll see how it instantly starts to bleed and just go all over and give that fabulous watercolor technique. I think that is a wonderful way to then really get that watercolor look. And so that's what I'm going to do with this piece. So this is my full sheet. So I'm just going to apply water all over. Not a ton, you don't want it drenched, you just want the whole thing to just have that little gloss of water all over it. And I'm not like going super far on the edges because I kind of want a sort of white border with that. So again, I'm going to go, this is my darkest color, Elegant Eggplant, and I'm just going to start coloring all over. And you can add more or less color as you wish. And I kind of want that like rough edge. I don't want it to go all the way to the edge and be clean and fully covered or anything. I know it's really hard for me to do that because you know how I like my bold colors and clean edges and everything. And I'm just going to add a little bit of like darker down here because I want it to sort of ombre up into lighter. So I'm adding just a little bit of more color down on the bottom, but keep it a little thinner at the top. And then I'm just gonna kind of run it clean as I move to my next color. And so again, I'm going to kind of start with this, squeeze it a little bit to get some more of that color coming. more of that watercolor look. And of course I want to overlap the colors and let them bleed into each other. And I can always go back and add a little bit more of this to do that bleed. So then I have this look here. You can, of course, set this aside to let it dry because you will need to have it dry before you go to stamp your little white dots. Or you can always use your heat tool to speed things up a little bit. So I'm actually just going to set this aside here, and I'm going to bring back in the original sample and show you that again. So to get those little white dots, I took my Craft Whisper White ink, and I actually used the little dots from the Wondrous Wreath stamp set. This was in the holiday mini catalog, but it is a carryover, so you can still get that as the Occasions mini catalog. You'll find that in the back of the Occasions. But I just took that image, inked it up in Whisper White, and just stamped all over on there. And if you end up falling off onto this part where there is no color, that's okay because it's white on white. You can't see it, so no worries there. So you can see those little splotches of white all over. Super, super fabulous. I love that. Then with this one, again, I did a similar thing where I took two colors. I actually took Rich Razzleberry and Tempting Turquoise and inked all over. According to Mary Ellen, she gave a fabulous tip about adding painter's tape around the edge. So you get that little white border and it holds your paper down from curling. As you can see, this is curled up. You can see that curve there. But yeah, it's curled up. So that painter's tape is a super fabulous tip. Thanks, Mary Ellen, on that. So you'll just add your color on the background. Once that dries, you'll take a sponge dauber and a little template that you use either with, that you can punch out with cardstock, or I actually used some scraps of vellum that I had left over that were kind of some whoopsies that I did. So I just punched those out and used those as my little template, and then just color in various circles. Another thing that you can also use if you don't have the stamp set or you don't have various circle punches, you can also use the end of a pencil. How fabulous is that? Just take the end of the pencil, just dab it in your ink pad, and then tap it all over. So you can see this one down here, the little one there, those were all done with the pencil. Super fabulous technique, and like I said, you've probably seen it all over like Pinterest and other places, as this has been quite popular recently. So I'll bring in those samples. I will be finishing this card once it dries, and I'll have those samples posted on my blog as well as these other samples. So be sure to check that out at laurastamppad.com, and I'll see you next time. Happy stamping!